So hello, what's up guys? So we are back again, and today we're gonna solve the next problem in our list. Okay, so the next problem in our list is maximum range. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so now you are ready to face one more challenge. Yes, we are ready. Okay, so the problem statement is you live in a colony of n houses where houses are numbered through 0 to n minus 1. Okay, the first house has a house number 0 and the second house has the house number 1, and so on. Every house pays some rent at the end of the month. Now you have to find out which house is paying the highest rent. Note, all house rents are unique. Okay, so now let's understand the question line by line. Okay, so let's start. So now in the first line it is saying that you live in a colony. So you live in a colony of n houses. You live in a colony of n houses. Okay. So suppose this is a colony. Suppose this box is a colony, and in this colony there are n houses. For the sake of example, we are taking the value of n as 5. So suppose in this colony there are 5 houses. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay. Now let's read the next line. So where houses are numbered through 0 to n minus 1. Okay, let's understand it. So the value of n is 5, and it is saying in the question that the houses are numbered through 0 to n minus 1. So 0 to n minus 1 will be what? 0 to 4, because n minus 1 n is 5, so n minus 1 will be 4. So the first house will be numbered as 0, the second house will be numbered as 1, and so on. Okay. Now come here. The first house has a house number 0 and the second house has a house number 1, and so on. We have seen it already. Okay. Now every house pays some rent at the end of the month. Okay. So suppose these are the houses and these are the rents. These are the rents. So see, 1500 is the rent paid by the house number 0. 1800 is the rent paid by house number 1. Okay. Now 1600 is the rent paid by house number 2, and so on. Okay, so these are the house rent. See, I have shown it here. Okay, now what we have to find? Now you have to find out which house is paying the highest rent. Note, all house rents are unique. So basically what we have to find? We have to find that which house is paying the highest rent. So can you guess which house is paying the highest rent? Yes, you can easily say, see, this house is paying the highest rent. The value of the rent is 1800 and the house number is 1. So the house number 1 is paying the highest rent. Now what is saying in the note? In the note it is saying that all house rents are unique. That means no two house rents can be equal. So every house rent will be unique. Okay. So now I think you have understood the problem statement. Now I am asking you one question. Can you guess the structure of this question? Okay. So I think you should. So isn't it looking like an array? See, these are the array elements. Okay. And these are the corresponding indexes. Isn't it? Okay. And basically what we have to find? We have to find the maximum element from the array. See, we have to find the maximum element, which is 1800. Okay. So now here point to be noted that we don't have to print the maximum element. We have to print the corresponding what? Index. Because in the question it is saying that we have to find out, we have to print the house number which is paying the highest rent. So here the house number 1 is paying the highest rent, which is 1800. So in the output we have to print 1, not 1800. Okay, so make it remember, we have to print 1, not 1800. So basically if you see it, this question is just similar to finding the index of maximum element from the array, isn't it? See what we are doing, we are simply finding the maximum element. No, we are not simply finding the maximum element, we are finding the index of the maximum element. And if you know how to find the maximum element from the array, you can easily find the index. So instead of storing the maximum element in the result, you will just simply store the index of the corresponding maximum element. Isn't it easy? After reading the problem statement, it was looking like, oh, this is a story based question, how we will solve. But now see, after understanding the question line by line, it's becoming easy, isn't it? Okay, so now I think the question is very clear. Now let's move to the input format. Okay, so here input format is saying that first line contains test case t. Now if you're not familiar with competitive coding, then this word test case may seem new to you. Okay, so let's understand it. So let's understand the word test case with a very simple example. So suppose this is the program for adding two numbers. We all know that. Okay, we are taking simply a b scanf and c a plus b printf c. Okay, so if I will give input 2 3, I will get 5. Okay, now test case says that what if I want to run this program for 2 times or 3 times or 4 times? Will you not write this code for 5 or 6 times? Okay, so what will you do? You will simply keep this code in a loop. See what we are doing, we are simply keeping this code in a loop because I am saying that we have to repeat this code for 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. So simply for doing the same thing again and again, we can write it in the loop. So test case is saying that test case is nothing, it basically says that how many times your code, your input, your code, your main code will be repeated. So basically what happens in competitive coding and in when you will go for interview, there your code will be tested for lots of test cases, lots of inputs. You will not be given only one input, you will have to pass the all the input. Okay, so basically you have to write the code in a, you have to write your main logic in a loop, and this loop is nothing, it is test cases. So suppose this is 2 and this loop will run for 2 times, so that means your code will run for 2 times. That means your code will be checked for two different inputs. Okay, so this thing is a little bit you can see it, it's very easy, it's not so tough. Okay, so now let's understand the input format. Okay, now we have already seen the test cases, and simply we will see the test cases value simply integer t and scanf. Okay, now test cases follow. Now whenever you will see this line now in any question, in any coding question, whenever you will see this line t test case, that means whenever you will see that, okay, you have given test cases, you nothing have to do, you just have to make a while loop, and in each time you will decrement the value of t by 1. Okay, and inside this while loop you will write your main logic. That's it. Okay, now see, now the first line of our input is saying that the first line containing n representing the number of houses. Okay, so the n representing the number of houses, suppose we have taken the value of n is 5, we have already seen that. Okay, now how will you take this input? You will take simply int n, and through scanf you will take it. Okay, now in the second line of the input, it is saying that second line contains the rent of n houses. Okay, so we have taken the input n houses. Now second line is the input, is the input of what? Is it is the input of rent of n houses. So 1500 is the rent of first house, 1800 is the rent of second house, and so on. So how will you take this input? Obviously you will have to make an array. So we are declaring an array, and simply we are looping through, and through scanf we are taking these inputs. It's very simple, that you people know it. Okay, now the main part is logic portion. Now we will have to see the logic portion code. Okay, so I think if you have done coding, then obviously you have done the coding of how to find the maximum element from an array. But here we don't have to find the maximum element, we have to find the index of maximum element. Okay, so just keep it in mind. So basically what we are doing, we are declaring a house rent of as 0, and house number as 0. Okay, we are declaring two variable. This variable will contain the house rents, and this variable house number will contain the corresponding what? Index. Corresponding index. This variable will contain the house number. Okay, now this is a simple program. I'm looping through. I'm starting the variable I as 0 till n. I'm looping through, and I'm checking the condition. Simply I'm checking if the current array value is greater than house rent, then we are simply what? We are simply updating the house rent as array I, and we are simply changing the house number as I. Okay, so now I think we should dry run this code in order to gain a better idea. Okay, so let's dry run this code. Now see, for the sake of example, we have taken n as 5. Okay, now initially the house rent is 0, so we will give 0 here. What happened? Yes, so initially we will give 0 here, and also house number is also 0, so we will give 0 here as well. Okay, so now the value of I is initially 0, so we will give 0 here. Okay, so now we come inside the loop. Okay, now the value of array of 0 will be checked, will be compared with what, with which, with house rent. So the array of 0 is 1500, so 1500 will be checked with house rent. Our current house rent is what, 0, so 1500 is greater than 0. Yes, it is. So we will come inside this, inside this if block, and the house rent will be the array of I. So now the new house rent will be array of I. Array of I means array of 0, that is 1500. So this will be 1500. Okay, so now again, and the house number value will also be changed. So now the house number will be I. So what is our I? I is 0, so house number will be 0. Now again come to here, I will be incremented by 1, so I is 1. Now again it will be checked, array of 1, so array of 1 is 1800. Now 1800 will be compared with house rent. The house rent is 1500, so 1800 is greater than 1500. Yes, it is. So we will come inside this if block and we will change the house rent value. So now the house rent value will be array of I. Now the array of Y value is 1800, so we will give 1800 here. Okay, now the house number will also be changed. Now the house number will be what? Now the house number will be 1. Okay, now the I will again be incremented, so it will be 2, so it will be 2. Now again it will become here, again it will check array of 2. It's 1600, 1600 will be greater than house rent. House rent is what, 1800. So 1200, sorry, 1600 is not greater than 1800, so it will not come inside this loop. The I will be incremented. Now I will be checked, array of 3, array of 3 what, it is 1300. So 1300 is greater than our 1800. No, it is not. Again it will not come here. Again it will, I will increment, again I will be 4. Now again it will check, array of 4, array of 4 is 1200. 1200 is greater than house rent is 1800. 1200 is greater than 1800. No, it is not. So again it will not come inside this if block, and again I will be incremented. Now this time the I is 5, and we know that the value of n we have taken in this example is also 5. Now this condition, this condition becomes false because 5 is not greater than 5. Okay, so this condition becomes false and this for loop will be false. Now at the end, see, the point is to be noted that in our house rent variable, we are getting, we are getting the maximum rent. Okay, and in the house number we are getting the index of maximum rent. See, the index of maximum rent is 1, so at the end we are getting house number 1. So basically what we have to print, we have to print this house number. So we have got our answer, so now we can simply print it. It's so simple, guys. It's so simple. If you know the basic concept of any programming language, now you can easily solve it. It's damn easy. Okay, so now let's understand the output format. In the output format, it is saying that for each test case on a new line, print house number. Okay, so house number our in the dry run, the house number is 1, so we have printed the 1. Now for the new line we will do printf/n, and we are simply printing the C, we are simply printing the house number which we have found here. House number is 1. See, in the output we are getting 1, so we are simply printing, and in order to move to the cursor to the next line, we are simply doing this print/n. So that's all about this problem. Okay, it is so simple. Okay, now come to here, now let's code it. Okay, so I have already coded it. I'm just showing you. We are taking simply integer variable scanf_t, and we are simply running a loop, and we are taking integer variable n, scanf through, we are taking input, and we are taking a simple array input, and we are declaring house rent 0, house number 0, and we're simply running a loop. I have already shown you the logic behind it. Okay, and at the end we're simply printing the house number and printf/n, and we're decrementing. Don't forget to decrement the value of t, because each time the value of test case will be decremented. Okay, now let's check our program whether our program is correct it or not. So let's give our sample input which is already given in the question. So I'm just copying it, I'm just pasting it here. Okay, so now what is our expected output? Our expected output is 1, and in the next line it should be printed 2. So let's see whether we are getting it or not. So let's run it and let's see what we are getting. Okay, so yes, we have got 1, 2, and our expected output was also 1 and 2. So we have successfully solved the second problem as well, feeling so much good. Okay, so I think you all need to solve this problem. It's very easy. So तब तक के लिए मिलते हैं, आज के लिए इतना ही. Have a nice day. Ta-da.